Hi,
Hello.
how are we doing today? Um, this is NRF 2026 Insights. If everyone wants to start just by sharing where they're from, and go ahead, Joel.
It would be really nice to hear where you guys from. So welcome. Today, as Sam presented, we're going to be talking about NRF 2026 Insights. And please feel free to add comments, make questions. It will be very interesting to listen to you as well and have a little bit the opportunity to discuss some of these hot topics of today. All right, so my name is João. I'm going to introduce myself. My name is João. I'm an innovation consultant. I'm here with Sam. Introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Sam McAvoy. I'm also an innovation consultant. And for everyone, since we asked where you're from, I'm based out of Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, that's nice. I'm in Rio, by the way, in Brazil. So we're going to be connecting from different places. But we had the opportunity to attend NRF for the fourth consecutive year. MJV has been participating in many global events. The idea is for us to share some of the insights, collect them, and as part of MJV's DNA, be ahead of innovation, and also to understand what are the different drivers of change that are happening worldwide. Okay, so today we're going to be presenting NRF. So Sam, talk to us, tell us a little bit more about this year's NRF, please. And for those, before I give you the mic, I would like to present MJV as well. For those who don't know us, we're a global innovation and technology consultancy. We have been over 29 years in business of experience. We are present in over 25 countries where we have done projects. We have 9 offices around the globe: Brazil, USA, Mexico, Chile, Colombia, United Kingdom, you name it. So Sam, so today, as I mentioned, we're going to be presenting NRF 2026, the next now. So Sam, tell us a little bit about that and how was your experience there and the main theme of the event for this year.
Yeah, so like NRF is huge every year. We're looking at like 40,000 plus attendees, like 6,500 brands show up, over 100 countries. As you know, a huge delegation from Brazil alone comes. This year, what we both hit like 30 sessions. So they were great. The big overarching theme was this next now, which is like this shifting in mentalities of like the rewiring of trade because of supply chains and algorithms and technology. We're looking at return on intelligence or return on interest to return on intelligence. So what value are you getting now? We're seeing this social, like this sovereign customer, which is going to be talked about more with agentic. Uh, yeah, I'm trying to think. Oh, agentic, from AI tools to agentic operating systems. So that was kind of the big arcing themes, and I'd say we heard a lot on those themes this year. Joan, what was your favorite part?
Honestly, I think this year was like my favorite of all years. And it's because to me, it always felt like we were always talking, come on, AI is like the huge topic every year, right? It has been a huge topic in many different conferences. We have been worldwide. But this year, to me, it felt a little bit more real and at scale and ready to use. And we saw like really tangible examples of how they applied AI. Because in the past, it seemed to me, which is not a problem, it was very inspiring as well. But we always were talking about testing with AI and pilots and not like the full thing. And now we're seeing AI took like a huge form and it's already happening and it's very and it's very in our daily life is. So I thought this was very interesting, like how companies interact with consumers, like the internal uses as well. We already knew about them, but I think it's more like facing the consumer right now in very interesting ways. As you mentioned, agentic AI is a very huge topic that we're going to be talking today. And also regarding this year's theme, the next now, I think it's very interesting because we're talking about, we are always been talking about the scenario and talking about poly crisis, which are like simultaneous crisis happening worldwide. And it was kind of sad, to be honest, right? And now we're shifting to this solution, which means like, if we move from loneliness that was generated, was like a feeling that was caused by the poly crisis itself, now we're shifting to searching for communities and etc. So I was like more optimistic this year as well. Sam, what do you think? Did you freeze?
Sorry, my internet. No, my internet froze for just 1 second. I was like, no, no, that like, and I think we'll touch on that a little bit more because it is such an interesting like perspective shift. And when like looking at that, like when you started at the beginning, I think the craziest thing to me was last year we were talking about generative AI as like the new thing, and this year we're in full blown agentic. Like people were presenting full blown agentic, like we have our agents, this is what they do, it's great. But yeah, shifting back to that like social conversation, when you start by looking at what's going on in the economy, like it's understandable why we're still in this like poly crisis like feeling, especially here in the US when we're seeing this like K-shaped economy emerge where like the affluent are continuing to get ahead and gain wealth, where this middle class is kind of collapsing into like falling behind. And we're seeing that because it's turning from like a wealth-based economy into an assets-based economy. And also the other, like the uncertainty of this rise of transactional nationalism, where like trade agreements are being treated like negotiable bargains. So the supply chain is very turbulent right now with questions, and it's like this stability, this divergence, like what are we feeling? But then you look over at people, and again, the tone went from like loneliness, what are we going to do, to this like active participation and looking for human connection.
Yeah, the human connection aspect was very interesting. And I would say, Sam, it's not just for the US, it's like global. We have been seeing like the luxury growth and middle classes like clashing and getting pressured and more pressured. They're like facing a critical affordability squeeze. So I think it's global. And if it's not, the US has the power to make it global as well with the impact you guys have worldwide, right? Also, regarding this, as you mentioned, we're like living in this threshold moment between like these old systems and these new emerging systems. So we have been in this liminal space, which is called the delta, as WGSN presented there. I think it's very interesting because whenever I think about the delta, I always think about like a mathematical delta, but it's not, guys. It's like a geographical one where like different rivers like get together and form like one. So we're kind of in the middle of this transition, right? Where we're caught between like these old forces and this new emerging one, this new emerging systems per se. So we're caught in between artificial and human intelligence, polarization and unity, as we mentioned, like loneliness and getting all together, and also this polarization and combined in unity, the collapse and renewal of all these systems, and we cannot forget about it, the mistrust as well. We have been seeing a lot, right? And we heard a lot about it, the like common mistrust of all people, which generates a lot of mistrust for companies with consumers as well, regarding companies, governments, and etc. But at the same time, which makes me optimistic, the optimism is coming as well. So that's why we're shifting from this poly crisis to like poly solutions. We kind of understand the problems and we're facing them and we're moving forward, right?
Yeah, we're doing our best. And kind of, yeah, we're doing our best. When we're talking about like that authenticity and this stuff, one of the big conversations we heard from a lot of the C-suites, a lot of like board members, everyone that's in the higher level of leadership, was this pivot into authenticity, being genuine, being transparent, going from being the person who speaks to the person who listens. This just shift in understanding the like cooperation and hearing what everyone else has to say and showing who you are, and like this is what is necessary right now, and like generational drivers for so many generations in this time of uncertainty and mistrust and like not knowing where to look for sources of truth. Like if they don't feel like the company that they're interacting with has that authenticity from the top down, they're probably not going to be a loyal customer.
Yes, 100%. And to that point, I also loved the quote about the diamond shape of leadership that Dick's Sporting Goods CEO mentioned, remember? Which was basically like the further you are, like the more far away you are from the consumer, the less you should talk, the more you should listen. I think it was very interesting because it's like really putting your final customer to the center. For those who don't know, Dick's Sporting Goods is like a huge, massive sports retail. So I thought it was very, very interesting to hear a little bit more about that and how they conduct this very consumer-centric approach to basically everything they do, and how they are going to be supporting athletes throughout their journeys. Either they're like professional athletes or like just out of just for fun.
Yeah. And so with that kind of, we're still talking about the state of human. We're looking at the craving of authenticity, seeing that come on leadership. The other thing is we're seeing this emergence, and this isn't that new from the standpoint of a little bit of how Gen Z functions, but it's become much bigger, and it's this like looking for niche culture, looking for your community. Here in the US, we use Reddit a lot for like a lot of different very niche subtopics people want to discuss that they love. And right now, like Reddit has gone from about 54 million daily active users in 21 to over 110 daily active users in 2025, which is a huge growth jump. And people are seeing it as like a source of authenticity. And I know you've mentioned with WhatsApp, there's that similar of like, oh, we have groups for everything. We could be strangers, they could live anywhere. Like it's just looking for that trust and authenticity coming from where we believe another human is speaking to us about it and giving us honest, real opinions.
I kind of enjoyed it personally because as a millennial, I love to see those R-cute communities coming back, you know, and when people can like join out of common interests. I think it has been very interesting to see how the new generations, especially when we're talking about Gen Z and Alpha, are not connected to this brand heritage loyalty that we used to have in the past. I think I do it, and older generations as well. And these new generations are all about communities, right? I've been seeing like examples of banks and other industries as well. That have been very successful, not focusing only on brand, but focusing on generating and creating those communities and fostering those communications, which is something that, as we mentioned, goes hand in hand with searching loneliness, but searching for a community. I think it's very interesting to see how society, and we always should pay attention to that, this shifts in companies and how they are building those relationships with consumers, have this root cause analysis associated with how humans are feeling and society is feeling as a whole. So it's very interesting to see and pay attention to those details whenever you're like creating your strategy towards really connecting and building loyalty with communities. And especially, I think you mentioned to me like many interesting examples regarding those communities and bringing consumers to the center as well. You mentioned some about Pakistan, right? Bringing Gen Z and Gen Alpha to co-create and etc. So I've been seeing like many interesting examples on how this has been shifting as well, right?
Yeah, what was one of the fun things to me, I remember, is there was a statistic that 48% of people join fitness groups just for social community, to meet other people. So like here in the US, I don't know how far, but we had a huge pickleball craze. And pickleball was a really good example of just people were looking to get out and do something that was just social. And the other thing, like, and shifting from that, like what we're seeing with that is the other way it's coming out societally is this fatigue, this digital fatigue. Everything's moving too fast. This is getting exhausting. And what's an interesting quote is or statistic is we always think of like the older generations feeling that way. But what we're seeing is over 80% of Gen Z wish they could just disconnect like from digital devices more easily. And like, what does that mean? And it's almost this sensorial reset. Like they are looking for sensations that they cannot get from digital. And how do you engage that? And that's a really big conversation for retail right now, because what does that mean? What were you like? I know you were really interested in this sensorial reset, Joe.
I was because again, we work a lot with generating experiences for companies and product development as well. Sensoriality has like huge power, and I've been seeing like many companies also investing a lot in those offline campaigns, like out of screens, and no screens. I've seen Heineken worldwide sharing those dumb phones, so you can be offline and kind of enjoy the moment. I've been seeing as well many people like buying iPods again, or buying those CyberShot cameras that are like, at some point we wanted everything to be in the same device for our phones, and now we want to separate them so we can be offline doing other stuff and we're not receiving like messages and notifications the whole time we're doing anything like listening to music or taking pictures or anything like that. So I think it's a very interesting shift, and we all have been very this digital fatigue has been going worldwide, right?
Yeah.
So we want to get offline sometimes. Says the both of us in front of a screen talking, but yeah.
Yeah, but this is how we can talk. We're in different countries.
Yeah, it is. It has
well,
benefits as well.
yeah. Well, let's kind of shift gears and we can go into like talking a little bit about what's going on with omnichannel.
Yeah.
Omnichannel has just continued to kind of like evolve as like it kind of encompasses everything now. So it's almost like that total retail ecosystem when we're talking about commerce at this stage, at the like consumer facing side. What interested you about what the conversations around physical retail were?
The total retail ecosystem, or like or in terms of omnichannel strategies, you say?
Omnichannel, but like the physical. Let's look at brick and mortar first. Like what did you see out there? Because we also did store visits in New York, everyone. So we went to see kind of what was going on in the big flagships and what were the feels. So what were you getting from physical between the sessions and just being out?
Yeah, so I think that the interesting part is there are like so many, but first I say whenever the stores become a destiny in itself, you're not there just to buy something. You just wanted to visit and participate in all of the experience they're offering, and you like really curious about it, and you see lines and lines and lines just to like visit the store. I think this is very interesting, and it should be designed to be a destiny within itself, right? Another thing I've been noticing that's very interesting to me is food associated with retail. Like everyone has a cafe now, like Tiffany's, Nike, Ralph Lauren,
Yeah.
everyone.
And
Right?
it's like the range of food. Like some it's just like a quick little bite to eat, some it's a full-blown bar, some it's like just a coffee shop. So like which used to
Yeah,
be kind of like a bookstore thing. That's like what bookstores used to do is they have a little coffee shop, but now it's just commonplace in a lot of retail.
yeah. Even that, I thought it was very interesting to see that when we visit together, that's kids store, like from Home Alone, like the toy store. and they have like this huge line for like food for you to grab food, but it's like fake food. It's just like toy food per se, and there was like this like 30 people waiting in line, 30 children waiting in line.
Yeah.
So that was very
It was,
interesting.
it was a diner themed pop-up that was all set up like a diner, except for they were just cooking up your little stuffed squishies.
Yeah, exactly.
And they had like limited edition ones, and it's like that started as a pop-up, and it was so popular that it stayed, and it's still there, and it's still sold. Like their bookings are booked every day because we were there right at the begin, like right after the New Year. So like the city's winding down. It's at one of its lowest tourist points, and we're still talking about the schedule being completely booked from open to close. But yeah, another one was this, like, again, going back to community, talking and listening to some of the stores talking about how they are trying to do that. And a lot of it's through hyper localization. And what we mean by that is like that we really are taking a step back and allowing our stores to make decisions on a local level about what's going to impact their community there. Like what is, and we saw that coming out a lot with Barnes and Nobles, talking about how they give their employees at every location a chance to rearrange the store, make it feel one of a kind, make it feel different, open the inclusive spaces that they need, like get creative with your demonstrations, like host events. And it's really revitalizing something that I think a lot of people felt were slowly going away, which was the idea of the physical bookstore. So they brought back their record sections. They've just kind of been re-evolving and like thinking how to get people in and make it like a community again.
Yeah, and it
Uh,
felt warmer, right? It felt warmer.
yeah,
And I think
it
it's,
did.
go ahead, sorry.
No.
No, it's just mentioning that it was very interesting to me to see that it all sums up to communities and this hyper localized and hyper personalization as well. Many times they mentioned it as the new hyper personalization as real intimacy with their consumers. It feels more like person to person connection than like companies just connecting to people. So I thought it was very, very interesting and very sensitive of companies to understand that and start building that intimacy with us.
Yeah. And we saw a really good use case on the smart store of like tomorrow in the Fair Price group, where they have like the smart trolleys, the personal shopping assistants, the stand and go on the aisle. They have like electronic blinking labels and navigations to get to you where you need to go in the store. They have like within that, they're like, you're navigating past this and you bought these other things. Is this something you were looking for? And statistically, I believe they were saying guided shopping raised the like basket average by 17% just by helping people easily navigate and suggesting things. So like that was really cool when you talk about like use of computer vision, the use of RFID, and then building it into this actual interactive ecosystem that's the smart shopping of tomorrow. Those were really cool.
Yeah, the ecosystems are like getting more and more complex and more service, right?
Mm.
It's very convenient to consumers. So I think this was a very interesting topic as well. But regarding agentic, like you're talking about omni-channel, right? So we need to talk about this new channel, this agentic shopping, right? What were the main things that caught your attention there regarding agentic commerce?
Well, so there's a few layers. There's like we have the social commerce,
Yeah.
which is the different, like we can circle back, but then to the agentic commerce, like on so many different levels. Google introducing the universal commerce protocols, creating this opportunity for other people to get involved in this process in an easier way and like lay out some ground rules and expectations. But I think the most interesting part is when you really break down agentic commerce, because it's going to have multiple applications. but commerce itself, consumer facing, we're at a point where I can just go, hey Siri, never let me forget what I need to make my son's lunch.
Yeah.
And Siri will handle all of that. It will show up at my door on a schedule. It will make sure that I'm running low of something. It's going to catch it. Like, it is a personal shopping agent that has autonomy to do its own thing, and it's really excited. I'm trying to stay on the surface and not get too down the rabbit hole. But like, if it can't act, it's not agentic. It's just automation. So like, we're going to see a little bit of this agent washing where people are trying to paint it with an agentic brush, but it's just not. But like, you don't tell agentic every step. You tell it the outcome you want, and then it makes decisions towards reaching that outcome. And the big thing retailers are going to have to think about is this new discovery system. If we used to be SEO, now we're going to GEO, and that's just making sure you're searchable through AI, chatbots, and all of that. And then the even bigger one is going to AEO, which is deciding and like AI decision making and buying. So it's going fast and it's going crazy. Were there any examples you wanted to share that interested you that we saw in practical?
Yeah, I think I think the main thing is that it's ultraly changing and being very disrupted for the way we shop. We're like shifting from like those keywords we used to do for like context and intent and like more complex conversations. And as you mentioned, I think it's very interesting if people are not, if companies are not like making their products discoverable and adding a lot of data. And the thing about data is that right now, we've been seeing this for many years. Like, if you don't have the data, the more we evolve with AI, the worse it's going to be for the companies who don't have like a data strategy and know how to like really work with data. But this time, you really won't. Like, it's not going to be possible to like really survive in this agentic commerce era without like data quality, right, and a good data strategy.
Yeah.
But
and you're still not too late. There's we're at a point where there's so many partners out there, and like, this is one of the things, if you want to reach out to us, we can start conversations about that. But it's not too late, but it's the window of adoption is really speeding up.
Yeah, it is, right? And as you mentioned, last year we were talking a lot about conversational AIs and etc. and generative AI, sorry. And now we shift like in a year gap, we shifted to agentic AI like fully happening. So the speed of change is increasing, and for data adoption, it's going to be even faster. But I think the examples, as you asked, the examples that really caught my eye was Lowe's. Milo's from Lowe's was a very interesting one to me, because it has a lot to do with like home improvement, right? For those who don't know Lowe's, it's kind of a Leroy Merlin. It's like home improvement stuff. And if you're like building houses or anything like that, you can go to Lowe's. And that example was very interesting because you can add like references of what you want to do in your house, or ask for a problem such as why is the sink not working, and etc. How do I fix it? And the AI will answer you like what products should you buy, how you should do it. They have like very interesting tutorials to do that. And I heard that, and they will find from Google and TikTok and etc. But I heard that they're already like creating a new version of that, which is AI created tutorials. So as soon as you have a problem and you don't know how to fix it, they will show you all the products and create the tutorials so you can do it at home, like do this do it yourself in home improvements. I thought this was amazing to see. And also Ralph's example was very nice as well. So
Yeah, I like on the operational side, and we'll touch on it real quick because I want us to be able to still talk about like the other product, omni-channel and social, but is like seeing it come out with like we have a case with Sam's Club, and Sam's Club is doing like the scan and go technology. You can bring out your cart. But what's interesting in how they're using it is like this is when you're talking about, well, you're gathering this data, you invested in the technology, you invested in the RFID, the computer vision. You now have this app that has active scanning. But what we're seeing is like you're getting live path analysis, you're getting heat maps, you're finding out the flow of your store. You can start working on optimizing adjacencies and closing these intent gaps with the navigation by like using their agents to give them such fast real-time pivoting feedback as to how to adjust things. So you can get like rapid processing on things. You can work on hyper local macro trends. You can make optimization for your members marks people to hit things along it. So it's a really good, like when you're saying like, oh, we invested in technology and what is the outcome via the data? And the data is like, you have a living instant merchandising system where it's whether it's weather or a viral effect or something, your supply chain can pivot. And we're seeing that with digital twinning. We're seeing that with like the labor optimization and shrinkage, all with agentic systems that can just work faster and autonomously to bring this real-time data to you. So that's kind of like the bigger picture of agentic. We have abilities to go into it more detail. If you're interested, obviously at the end, please feel free to reach out. But I wanted to jump back so we don't miss the omnichannel stuff, but just to touch on quickly, like private label. Private label is white space, white space, white space. Full control over the advertisements, the placements, ways to meet new areas in the market that are slow to be on the pickup, but are very much starting to trend where there's just not a lot of people in this space yet. So private label is very much coming up in a big way. And when you look at a company like Macy's that's been doing private label for a very long time, they've been in a like multi-year full brand overhaul to where they now have 20 different private labels ranging from like home goods to children's to men's to unisex to like seasonal stuff and like tools in the kitchen. So yeah, it's been interesting to see like these growth pillars of premiumization and health and wellness and simplicity and trust coming out in private label, which is again a whole new channel in many ways of its own of bringing in more. And
it's
then
kind of Sam, as well, just to add upon what you just mentioned, it's kind of impossible as well, where you were mentioning, we were talking about, and we were very impressed by it, this evolving and really complex retail ecosystems. It's kind of impossible to do without private labels, right? and white labels. Yeah. So
and the retail media networks, that whole other
a whole new thing. So yeah, I think retail is getting more complex and more robust throughout the time. And I think one word we heard this year that we haven't heard in the past was humility, right? Humility to partner and cooperate and understand that you, in this very complex environment and with a lot of technology and etc., everyone should cooperate and really unite efforts to work together towards like really shifting and disrupting the market and surviving, right? Not only disrupting but surviving.
Yeah. So we'll touch on one more quick one, and then we'll leave it open for some questions, or if anyone had anything else. So the big one that we want to highlight, and it's been kind of whispered, but we're finally getting into it fully blown, is social commerce and live shopping. So social commerce right now, we're looking at PacSun just released the PS Hub, and it's an influencer social commerce site in the or app. And the thing that makes this most interesting is they are not requiring a minimal like follower count or user count. It's meant to be much more democratized. Like it encourages all different levels of engagement with it that aren't common in some of these other social content things. Like the key features for creators are like monetization, gamified growth, creative tools, and then also this co-creation opportunity within TaxSun that like if you're providing it, they're reaching out and they want you to work with them because Gen Z and Alpha care very much about co-creation. So that's been really interesting. And then to touch quickly on live, it's not going anywhere. Live is a huge growth channel. If you're not in it, you should really figure out how you're going to step into it. What's not, which is a US, I'm not sure how far it's gotten out like into other countries, did 7 billion, it's generated 7 billion and then did 10 billion in like gross merchandise value in just a live shopping platform. And that's just one of them. That's not including TikTok Shop or Instagram Live or Amazon Live or eBay Live or YouTube Shopping, etc. So it's a big deal. Joe, I don't know. Do you want to touch on Magalu as kind of like the bigger case study, and then we can kind of open up the floor?
Yeah, we should. Yeah. Okay. So we can talk about Magalu, which I think it's very interesting. I'm very proud to see Magalu in at NRF, right? Because Magalu, for those who don't know, is a Brazilian company. It's led by a woman, by the way. It's very interesting because they have created like this very huge and complex retail ecosystem, right? Sam can deep dive a little bit more into it. But just before we move forward to this topic and the last couple of topics and ending our conversation today, I'd like to hear from you guys as well. So please send questions so we have the time to answer them while Sam explains a little bit more about this example from Magalu, because I love to hear your perspective from an American to what Magalu is, because I already know it a lot, right?
Yeah, so just again, don't have like the full background off the top of my head, but I know that its growth in omni-channel from being like e-commerce to getting into physical, having a ton of physical stores. I think, yeah, so they have like a very strong 70% online share with like major digital first dominant. It's with like 35 million active customers. But where it starts getting interesting is the expansion of their portfolio. They have 7 different private label brands, some acquired through merger and acquisitions, which are their own names in themselves, like Net Shoes and Kabum for like the ones I saw, but they're kind of touching on all of these categories. And then on top of that, they have their whole Magalu as a service, which is where they're stepping into fintech. They have cloud computing services. They have their retail media network. They have their logistics network. So they're even working in distribution and logistics. But the really excited stuff that they introduced this year was like the 20-year journey of Lou into her agentic stage. So going from a mascot to an agent, it's WhatsApp native, it's fully embedded commerce through it that you can have conversations with them. You can full checkout from within it without leaving. It's pretty amazing. And like the percentage increases, they had a 10% conversion rate in these interactions, which is 3 times higher than the standard e-commerce averages. So just even her being WhatsApp native is my understanding is like a pretty big deal.
It is, right? And I think it's very interesting also for us to see this shift for this daily life hubs where they have like many different types of services and this huge portfolio for the clients as well. I think one interesting example that we saw was Carrefour, the French retailer. Here in Brazil, for instance, they have over 56% of their profits right now come from services like banking services and insurance services, financial services and products as a whole. But it's very interesting to see how they have been evolving from like a food retailer to like this very huge ecosystem. And food is not their primarily source of income anymore. So it's very interesting to see how retail has been shifting and becoming more and more complex every year. But we wanted to.
Just on the region for Magalu, because I don't want it to be missed as well. While they have a bunch of physical locations, they just recently opened the Galleria Magalu, which is like their giant reimagining of the physical space into a fully interactive and experiential, like come in. So we're talking about that physical retail that creates these bonfire moments, these uncopyable moments in a space. They have all their ecosystems in one building as like almost a department store for their brands. They also have what we are affectionately calling a park for influencers, with a YouTube theater for streaming, podcast studios. They have art galleries with partnerships with like local organizations. And they're really believing that like they expect to see their rapid like return on investment within 1.5 years to like achieve full payback. So like this is one of those interesting like, and there's plenty of other experiential spaces that we can talk about in detail at another time if people are interested, because we have so much on so many of these topics, but we really just wanted to try to go into a smaller thing. The last thing I'd say for me, and then Jean, if you want to finish yours, is the shift to think about when you're talking about where to spend marketing dollars in social media, how to track it, what's going on with all of that, is we are seeing this shift from social media into interest media. And that's it's not about how many followers you have, it's about how many people are watching your content and how relevant it is. And if we can get it to that point where it is popping and it is relevant and you are trending, we create this thing called the halo effect, which we've seen with like the whipped coffees that Walmart had to deal with completely having their supply chain destroyed over this viral trend. And we talked about Tarte, the cosmetics line, had a makeup that pretty much erased, you could put permanent marker on your face and erase it. And the internet went nuts over it. It blew up all over social media, and they had such a hard time keeping it in stock. And it's like when you talk about those agentic operations, when it can predict weather, when it can see a trending thing is starting to pop and say, okay, we need to adjust for this. We might need to pull in another supplier. We might need to do this because we see the numbers, we're seeing they're trending, and we can track that they're trending through social. But it changes the dynamics simultaneously of what do you track in social? Is it virality? Is it invisible lift after? But go ahead, Sean.
And it changes, you talked about changing the dynamics, and it changes like the internal dynamics of companies as well, right? We have been seeing like the innovation process being disrupted. They're like considering like from the very beginning, from like research and development and product development, etc. They are considering the virality, impact, and potential of a product while developing it, right? Because they know if you, and Ninja is a great example of that, right? We have been seeing those
Shark
ice
Ninja
machines, Shark Ninja, we have been seeing those ice cream machines all over the internet, and people like sharing recipes and etc. So this viral effect being considered within the entire product development process, I think it's very interesting. And also because sometimes we used to see like some silos regarding like marketing and product development and etc. And now everyone's connected to generate that social impact and also that halo effect from the very beginning, right? Everything is engineered for that halo effect at the end of the day. So I think it's a very interesting point.
Yeah. And like, so a lot of these things, like for us, are things that we do on a monthly, yearly, weekly basis, depending, like just looking at this data, understanding the consumer journeys, like
Yeah.
how do you use design thinking to empathize with your customer, understand them, and design products and items that work for them, understanding these generational gaps, understanding what these journeys look like end to end. Those are all things that we regularly at MJV tackle. So if it's something you're interested in, please reach out. We can have a short meeting, a conversation, see if there's anything that even you had some questions that you wanted us to follow up on. But we're sharing it now. We have our report that's a little bit longer on NRF about everything we covered. But again, feel free to reach out. I don't think we have our information in there, but we can send that out, or if you want to leave a message or anything, we can get that handled and taken care of.
Yes, and I think like so much more to see as well. We don't have enough time to showcase all of the different trends. We had a lot of sustainability, how they're like improving and creating these new cacao plants, like climate resistant. Let's preserve chocolate for the future, please. And also like many different topics such as wellness, GLP-1 impact, right? And all many different trends. So guys, if you want to reach out to us and discuss any of those topics, you have noticed we're kind of enthusiasts here, and we won't stop talking for hours and hours over one of those trends, because it seems very interesting to all of us. And go ahead, Sam. Sorry.
I was going to say, we also have an opportunity within companies. We do NRF and company, where we will bring these insights with a little more detail, a little more presentation, like, and open up for like an ideation session or those kinds of things. So if that's something you and your company might be interested in, also please feel free to reach out and we can give you more information on that.
Yes, that would be great. Okay, guys. So anything else, Sam, or should we close this?
Now that we have 10 minutes, we can either give everyone a little bit of time back, or if anyone wanted to actually did have a question, please feel free to throw it our way. And if not, thank you guys all so much for attending. Hopefully it was enlightening, and hopefully it makes you more interested to see a little bit more in our reports. And then I will give you a heads up that we will likely be putting out a little bit more content over the next several weeks, that maybe just jump into some of these areas we were talking about in a little more detail, with a little more crunchiness, to kind of, go beyond the surface interest into exploring the depth of what we might have heard in the sessions.
Yes. Okay. So thank you guys for joining us today. And also, I really look forward to seeing you at NRF and Company, so we can present like the entire content and have the chance to ideate and discuss how this different trends and different possibilities land in your business plan and your strategy and in your company. So please reach out to us if that's something that interests you. And looking forward to seeing you guys again. Thank you for sharing this morning with us, or the afternoon, depends on where you are. Okay, thank you guys. Have a great day. Thank you, Sam, for this very interesting.
Thank you, Jean.
Pleasure to be here.
John and I can go on forever, so this was like a short in comparison. No.
I really enjoy spending time with you, discussing those things. So
Yeah,
thank you.
we look forward to seeing you guys at the next one.
Okay, so thank you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.